Let's start looking at the rhythm guitar first here for Gloria. We're playing an E chord to a D to an A. So when we start this, we're going to strum down. We're going to lift our first finger off of our E chord, and then we're going to do a hammer on with that first finger going back to the note that you would play off of your E chord. So you're just going to lift off and then hammer on with your first finger. So you have, then you're going to come back up and strum down again, and then you're going to lift your fingers off, hit an upstroke, basically on the first, second, third strings, lift off, and then we're going to go down on D, and then you could go down on A. Okay, so slowly would be now when you start it again, you would start with an upstroke. Okay, so you're going to strum up and do the hammer on this time. So as you keep playing this over and over, every time you do the hammer on off the E on the first note here, you're going to be hitting that with an upstroke, okay? But when you start the song, the rhythm here, you're going to start with strumming down. Now, up. Up stroke, okay, so you can add different things in here. You could, so I'm hammering on the chord, the whole E chord, and I'm sort of doing a little funky rhythm here with the right hand, so it's now the last hit is I'm just lightly touching the strings so I get a muted sound. So I have, let's see if I can slow this down. You could do a couple in here that are muted. But that's what I'm doing. So, you know, if you want to get fancy or funky with the rhythm, there's different ways you could play that. You could play a power chord version of this, so the open power chord. So here's your E, here's your D, and here's your A. So you could come in and play. Hammering that first one on. But, you know, basically that's just the rhythm. So you, again, you would start with a down, hammer on, down, put your fingers off, down on A, and now up, hammer on, down. But that's about it for the rhythm guitar. sure there's other ways of playing it, but that sort of suits the song the best. Let's go take a look at some of the lead guitar riffs that I came up with. Alright, let me show you some solo ideas here. This is sort of how I would play this if I had to take a guitar solo in the song. Now the song was never done as an instrumental, as you all know that, you know, there was lyrics to the song. But this is how I would solo, you know, in the song, or maybe do little fills while the singer was playing. I'm playing, you know, this is as easy as it can be, and you know, I'm coming out of the little blues scale. I'm coming out of this scale and just adding little, you know, phrases out of there and little extensions out of that. So an extension might be something like that. You know, like when you play blues guitar or rock guitar, everybody shows you or tells you to play your scale first, but then they don't tell you anything to do with the scale after. You sit here for a long time just playing the scale up and down, and it just sounds like a scale. So what I'm doing is just adding little extra notes in here. So again, you know, I don't know who's watching, so if you're new to playing lead guitar, this is your open minor pentatonic scale in E. And if this is painful for some of you, I'm sorry. Now, you can slide this note to the 4th fret. You can play on this note, and come down on that one. So you could start it. Okay. So I'll come in here and I'll hit this note and this note, and then my first string open. And I'll do a little pick and finger combination here, but again, you could play this just with a pick. If you have trouble with the pick and finger, you could just come in here, you know, and pick the string separately with the guitar pick only. But I'll do the pick and finger, so I pick on the 3rd string, and then my 2nd finger hits the 2nd and the 1st string. And I'm basically just going 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. Sliding into that little chord, if you want to call it a chord. You can do double stops out of that. So you have 2 notes here, and I'll just hit that with my 1st finger. You know, learn to do little hammer-ons. Coming up with your scale. So I might start with the scale either way. You can bend this note. And then come in there. Now another little double stop or little phrase, or whatever you want to call this, little riff, 2-note riff, would be these 2 notes. So I'm using that note of the scale and that note of the scale. I'm just hitting those at the same time. Your little rockabilly riff, I call this. So I'll combine that with this, and then you can end right there on your E, instead of taking it all the way up to that E. So again, you know, the little scale, the beginner scale, I'm using, but I'm adding little extras to it, is what I'm trying to show you. here, I'm playing those two notes off the scale, but I'm picking with my second finger the open first string. So I hammer on from 3 to 5. Second and first string open. Coming up with your scale, but I'm still picking the first string as I hit this note. First and third string open. So I'm going, and while I'm doing that, I'm hitting the first string at the same time. Can bend that one a bit, the third string. And then just come up picking only, you know, skip the first string. Throw your double stops in if you want on the second and third string. So you could hit the first string only when you do these two. Now the beginning part, I was doing some of the twangy stuff, so I'll just play the rhythm here twice. So as you can see, basically I'm just bending this G note here. So I'm holding my E with my first finger, barring the fourth and fifth string. And I'm just bending this fourth, the fifth string here on the fourth fret. And just sort of getting different, you know, tones as I bend that. Sort of just letting it grind in there. So I might play different, you know, little phrases out of this. Out of here, but basically it's just kind of those three notes. Four actually, if you counted the first string open. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and bending. But I'm hitting these 3 frets here. Slide right into my little open string riff, if you want to call this. I might do stuff like that where I'm, you know, just on that open E string, I'm kind of down, I'm picking down, I'm alternate picking. So I'm not just going. A little tricky to show, but that. Now on the next part here, I'll show you the part I was playing on the 12th fret. This is E chord, a D chord, and an A chord. So now on this E, I'm just playing the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string. I'm not playing the high E string. So I'm playing only the notes that I'm holding. And I'm picking the 4th string with the pick, and now my 2nd finger and 3rd finger are playing on the 3rd and 2nd string, and I'm pulling all 3 at the same time. Now this little chord is an E, and we're going to a D on the 10th fret with our 1st finger, and now with my pinky I'm going to bar the 14th fret on the same 3 strings, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string. So there's your A. So now when I'm playing this, I'm doing little chord shots, or I'm pushing down on the chord. So the little pattern is what I'll do to end this is I'll sort of shake the chord, just shake all the notes, and that just sort of makes it kind of ring a little more, just to finish it. But I think the main thing with the sound is that I'm getting all 3 notes hit at the same time as I push down, so that's going to sound a little bit different than strumming, because with the strumming you're going to get more of that sound, and I want it to jump out or stand out more as I push, down on the chord also each time I play them. So that's the high part on the 12th fret. Now, more of this little extension of the scale. So I'm bending behind the nut here, obviously. Now, on this, what I'm doing is really not hard to play. Depending on your guitar, this 5th string that I'm bending on might be really hard to push down. One thing about this guitar is all the tension behind the nut on the guitar is really easy to, it doesn't hurt my fingers at all when I'm pushing down on this Telecaster. But if I'm playing on my Strat, I find it really stiff and really hard to push on these. But now all I'm doing is hitting the open D string, your 4th string, and now I'm going to hit the 5th string and bend on the 5th string behind the nut. And I'm not pushing really far down. I'm just pushing a little bit, but I'm letting it, I'm hitting it, bending it down, letting it come back up. Or you could give it sort of like vibrato, and then I'll come back to this note off the blues scale, to the G, and then open. You can come back to that after, to this E note here, off the scale. So maybe a beginner way of playing this or getting used to this might be coming up with your blues scale. So the whole idea with this is that it is, I'm sort of thinking as another little riff or an extension of this blues scale, and I'm just trying to twist your ear a little bit and play something different that's off the fretboard. So that would be the same as, using a whammy bar, tremolo bar if you want to call it, on a Strat or another guitar, or Of course, I don't have that on the telly, so I like to use, behind the nut bends, which, sound different, of course, than the tremolo bar. But the whole idea is that it's an effect, and I'll just throw those in once in a while. You don't want to be overplaying these behind the nut bends unless you really know what you're doing, and I really don't know what I'm doing on this, so I'm trying to keep this really, just basic. So now another part here that we'll go into. More of that first string droning or ringing, if you want to call it. I'm just playing a little scale here that I made up, and of course, all this I've made this up, except for the, this comes from the actual song, but all the rest of the stuff obviously is just stuff, on my own riffs that I'm making up here. So I thought that this riff would fit, so I came up with a little. Again, I'm playing pick. Came up with a little riff here. I'm playing with, open string riff. I'm playing with the pick on the second string only, and my second finger on the first string. And that first string is always played open. So the little scale would be. So simply just 9, 10, 12, 14, 15. That might be a way to start this, and now pick the first string when you play that scale next. And again, if you're having trouble with the pick and finger thing, if that's too weird for you, I guess just come in there and just pick down on them. And that works just fine too. So this, again, would be a good way to start it. Come up with your own little phrases. Slide in and out of those. You can bend this 14th fret. But you can notice how I get a little bit of a different sound with the pick and finger. Now, after coming from this riff, it's kind of a good way to go into this riff because you're right there. You don't have to come up here or anything. So there, I'm just starting with a little hammer on. You can give some of these vibrato. Again, like I said, you can bend that 14th fret. Everybody's going to play this a different way. You could use one finger, two fingers, whatever you want. Now you can go to this third string and bend that as you hit the first string open, and this third string here on the 11th fret. You can even hit the second string also open, and then you could hit your actual E note if you want. You can do the same thing here on the 4th string. Playing on the 2nd fret, 4th fret, 6th fret, 7. And again, I'm hitting the first string open. And then would be the first fret. It's a very, basic thing, but it's just, you get a different sound with that first string always being played open. There's more of a country thing for you. Here I'm just bending really high on that 4th fret, 3rd string. And then going same fret to the 5th string, or sorry, 4th string. And on the 4th string I'm just sliding from the 4th fret to the 6th fret as I hit that first string open. So maybe you can come up with your own little, riffs out of this little open scale, if you want to call it, open string riff.